Well, the best time to get started is now. But where else can you have the opportunity to really make a difference? I want to make sure that when I'm ready to move back to the private sector, that I leave the conservative movement in Sherwood Park better than I found it. Hi, I'm Nate Glubish. I'm the conservative MLA for Strathcona-Sherwood Park. Politics was never part of my plan. I didn't grow up in a political family. We never talked politics around the dinner table. I didn't pay attention to politics for most of my life. But I did grow up in Saskatchewan when it was run by an NDP government. And when I graduated from university at the University of Saskatchewan with a degree in business, I couldn't find work anywhere in Saskatchewan. And so I called all my friends and family back in Alberta and I said, what should I do? And they said, well, come back to Alberta, you won't regret it. I came to Alberta, I found lots of opportunity, lots of jobs, and Alberta gave me everything. It gave me a great career. And so for me, that was when I knew that conservative politics was what I cared about. You know, on the one hand, you had a province led by the NDP, there was no jobs, no opportunity. On the other hand, you had a conservative-run province, and it was limitless opportunity. That was my experience. And so when Alberta went NDP in 2015, it was a surprise to me, and I was concerned, and that's when I decided to get involved. I realized that conservative leaders had let Albertans down, had caused them to want to choose a different party. I don't believe it was conservative ideology that let people down, it was conservative people that let Albertans down, and I wanted to be a part of presenting a better conservative option in the future, because I know that a well-run conservative government leads to better opportunities for the people of Alberta. From a political party perspective, an MLA's role there is essentially so for me as the United Conservative representative, my role is to focus on, I guess, in part defending the government's policies locally, but also on developing a volunteer base, developing a donor base, and developing a local membership base for my party in my local riding. So, I mean, we talked earlier about my roles as a minister and as an MLA, as a legislator, and as a representative for all of my constituents. Those are a few of the hats I wear. But from the political party, perspective, that hat is essentially developing my party's infrastructure in my riding. So, I participate in so every political party has the opportunity to have a local riding association in their riding. So for us, we have an elected board that gets elected once a year. I meet with them on a monthly basis to talk about local priorities and to look for ways to have a presence locally and to give folks who lean conservative something to get involved in. So that's one of the roles that, as an MLA on the party side, that I fill. I think one of the things I like about my work from the political side is the chance to just get to meet a lot of people in my home community. I get to meet with hundreds and hundreds of people that live in Sherwood Park and Strathcona County and hear about their stories, hear about what they care about, and to work together with them to try and make Alberta the best it can be. I don't know if I'm necessarily able to change the way that our political system works, but I would say one of the things that's frustrating for me as an MLA is how divisive politics has become. I think social media has played a big role in that. It's very easy to find the folks who think the same as you, they care about the same things as you, they're upset about the same things as you. And then when you find sort of your people that share your values, it can then become very easy to say everybody who's not a part of that subset of people, they're my enemy. And I think this is a common problem regardless of which side of the political spectrum you're on. It's a problem for conservative folks, it's a problem for NDP and Liberals. And so I don't have a solution for that. I think for me, what I try to do is I try to focus primarily on just communicating my ideas as a politician, communicating the ideas of our party and of our government, and focusing on our track record and what we're doing, rather than focus on getting into partisan fights. And that's what I can control. I can control how I act as a politician. But I do understand that in the Canadian context, whether it's federal or provincial politics, our system is a party-based system, and so there will always be some tension there between the different political parties. Well, there isn't really a typical day. I guess that's how I'd answer that. Every day is different. You know, when we're in session, we spend the majority of our time here at the legislature. The mornings would be, you know, either cabinet meetings, caucus meetings, committee meetings, and then over the lunch hour, we're preparing for the afternoon sitting, where we would have a question period, which is where the private members, both of the opposition and of the government side, get to ask questions of the ministers about government policy. So that takes a bit of prep to say, you know, what are the most likely questions that we would anticipate, and let's make sure we're ready to answer them. And then after question period wraps up, you've got you know, a few hours of debate on the various bills that are in front of the legislature at that time. That usually wraps up at 6 o'clock. After that, there's always going to be different requests for you as an MLA to minister, to participate in networking events, events hosted by different stakeholders who are, you know, advocating for different policy ideas. And so, you know, that takes up the dinner hour, and often then we'll spill over into the evening. Sometimes we'll still be coming back for an evening sitting at the legislature. Sometimes we could be here till midnight or 1 in the morning. That happened quite frequently in the spring session. But if we don't have an evening sitting, then, you know, typically you're going to have any number of different events where you're asked to go and either speak, to bring greetings on behalf of the government, or to go and hear from stakeholders and community groups or not-for-profits or whatever it might be. So typical day, you know, it's not abnormal for you to be working until about 9 or 10 at night, and then head home. When you're not in session, a lot of this, you know, that's where the minister role comes in. Is, you know, you're still running the day-to-day operations of government. That doesn't stop just because the legislature's not sitting. So I would spend more time with my department officials on overseeing the many different files that we're working on. Spend more time working with stakeholders. So for me as the Tech and Innovation Minister, you know, that would be spending time with, for example, Alberta Innovates or Alberta Enterprise Corporation, which is our venture capital fund of funds. Spending time with Platform Calgary or Edmonton Unlimited, which are the two big tech hubs, one in Calgary, one in Edmonton. Spending time with different tech companies who have some ideas they'd like for us to consider, either on terms of technological adoption in government or ideas on how to create more momentum in Alberta's tech sector. Or maybe it's spending time with different investors who are looking at investing in tech companies in Alberta. Spending time with our post-secondary institutions to, you know, look into how we're doing on the research and development side of things. There's no end in terms of the types of folks who want some of your time as a minister, and so that will fill my days when we're not in session. You know what I tell people? I say the highs are higher than anything I've ever experienced, and the lows are lower than anything I've ever experienced. But where else can you have the opportunity to really make a difference in your community, in the place you call home? So for me, I still see this as a great privilege and an opportunity to try and make Alberta the best it can be, and to to make sure that Alberta is able to give my son and his generation a brighter future. That's what keeps me going every single day. Is, you know, at the end of the day, I know that you know, depending on where you land in terms of politics, we're all going to have different ideas on how to get there, but I think we all can agree we want a brighter future for our kids and the next generation. That's what keeps me doing this. I mean, I think for me, again, my background's in tech. This is what gets me excited. You know, building new technologies, building tech companies, using more technology in government. That's what I find really exciting about this job is, you know, technology. I always say technology is not just an industry, it's the future of every industry. And it absolutely also has to be the future of government. And so to be a part of, you know, the forefront of adopting and implementing more technology in government, it's a pretty exciting place to be. I would say if you are thinking about becoming a politician, the best place to get started, the best time to get started is now. And the best place to get started is just figure out which political party you are most aligned with and just get involved on the local level in your home community. Go and find your local riding association. Go and find out who are the current, who's on the board, who are some of their volunteers. Go and offer to become a volunteer, because you'll learn a lot from that process, and you'll meet a lot of great people who are aligned with your politics. If you want to become an elected official, you're going to need the support of the local political infrastructure. For me, I need the local Conservatives in Sherwood Park to know who I am and to like me, and to feel confident that I can be a good representative for them. If you're a Liberal, if you're an NDP, if you're a Green, you're going to need the support of your political party in your home community. So the best way to work towards that is just get involved. Go if you have an elected official in your riding right now, go and show them some support. Go and be a volunteer for them. Not everybody wants to do this forever. I'm not going to do this until I retire. I always said I want to do this for a few terms, hopefully make a positive impact, and then I'll go back to the private sector at some point. So that means that someday there will be an opening in my riding for the next generation of Conservative candidates to say, hey, I'd like to be the Conservative candidate on the ballot. There's going to be opportunities like that in every riding all across the province for every party. So yeah, get involved, because one way or another you're going to find out whether you do actually like it. If you like it, great. You're going to meet some great people, you're going to develop some skills, and you're going to position yourself well to be seen as a leader in your party, in the local community. Or you might learn that maybe it's not for me. That's okay too. But it might. But regardless, it will introduce you to some great people, build some great relationships, and you know what? Networking is an important part about success in life, in business, in politics, in everything. So that would be my advice. Well, I think for me, when I started, my vision was I'd like to do this for a few terms. 3 terms would be 12 years. My goal was just to try and say, I want to make sure that we have a Conservative MLA in my riding, and hopefully be a part of a Conservative government for the province, so that we can deliver the best possible leadership for the province and for my riding, so that the folks who live in Sherwood Park and Strathcona County would have the best possible opportunities, the best future for them and for their kids, be able to develop their careers and reach their fullest potential, to be able to build business and reach their fullest potential. And so I'm 6 years in to that journey. I think we've made some great progress. Alberta's economy is much stronger than when we formed government. We're bringing in more investment into this province than ever before. We've created more jobs. We've created more opportunities for the people that live in Alberta and that live in my riding. My hope is that by the end of my first 10 years that we'd be able to say that we've made even more progress in that regard. And then from a political perspective, I think part of my goal too is to make sure that I've recruited some young talent, some great volunteers, some folks who maybe would have aspirations politically, so that I can mentor them and I can pour into them and help develop their skills, help them to chase their dreams, help to give them opportunities to develop their skills in politics and to connect with political leaders, so that whenever the day comes where I decide that, I'm ready to go back to the private sector, that it's not a surprise, and that there's some great candidates who are very talented, who know what it takes to be a candidate, but also what it takes to be an MLA, and who would be ready to run in a nomination process to be the candidate in my riding. My goal is to make sure that whenever my time is done, whoever's coming up will have a strong constituency association behind them, a strong volunteer network behind them, a strong membership, political membership behind them, and a strong donor base that will support them. When I started, I had nothing. I had to build everything from zero. And that was a lot of work. And I want to make sure that when I'm ready to move back to the private sector, that I leave the Conservative movement in Sherwood Park better than I found it.